Hey there, my name is Francisco and today I'm here to discuss some topics about this beautiful gentleman that is Jacob Collier. Well, I think I'm gonna make this a series where I just talk about things that I like, slash love, slash adore, slash, I don't know, worship, like this guy over here. But yeah, let me know your feedback and let's just get started with it. So, who's this guy over here? His name is Jacob Collier. He is an English musician that composes different types of music from jazz to, I don't know, he has, I'm like myself, I can catalog his style because I don't think it's jazz, I don't think it's pop, definitely, I don't think it's funk. It has like everything on it, and that's one of the main reasons why I like it so much. And today I am going to talk about six key points about why I like him and why I think he's such a great musician and why he's the best musician in history to me right now. And I know that's like quite a big step, but hopefully at the end of the video at least you'll consider him. If you don't know him, you'll start listening to his songs, and if you do know him, maybe you'll even like him a little bit more. So I can say for sure, or at least for me, that I am his #1 fan. I have done so many stuff. I want to meet him so much. I haven't had the opportunity yet. I was mentioned in his story though, actually not a long time ago. It was in this month, January. So yeah, that was quite thrilling. I was very happy. And also I will be attending his concert in Manchester in April. So hopefully I have big plans for that concert. I want to grab a lot of stuff and just bring to him. But yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit later if that's interesting. But yeah. So, Jacob Collier, let's start with it. Okay, so the first topic I want to talk about is his talent and the way it compares to its age. He's a very mature person. And by the way, just a disclaimer, like, I don't know the guy, I don't know Jacob Collier. I have seen like every interview that he gave, I've listened to every song that he made, and I've seen tons and tons of things about him. So this is my personal opinion about him. If you have a different opinion or something, well, it's totally acceptable. So I'll just be here giving my opinion. But yeah, his talent versus his age. So right now Jacob, I think he's 25 or 26, more or less. So he is very young. And the portfolio he has is quite thrilling. It's amazing. The songs he has composed. It's not about the number of songs. It's not about the duration or how long the songs are, because I mean, you can make it 20-minute songs of absolute crap, or you can make like 20 or 50 songs of 4 minutes, and like that would be it. But no, Jacob has, for his age, he has composed things that I'd never seen done before. Like, he is really a talented person. And like, he can play, I think he studied piano at Royal College of Music or something like that, so he practiced piano for academic purposes, and I also played the piano for 10 years. But thing is, Jacob learned most of the music he knows by himself. So it was self-taught. So that's quite impressive, because if I show you some clips of him playing piano, it's like, Jesus Christ, where did all the technique come from? I mean, of course, playing in the Royal College of Music, like in jazz and studying jazz and so on, of course, has gave him loads and loads of technique. But he has already said that actually he doesn't have like the technique that he wanted to. And he told, like, even I think he was at the MIT interview or something like that, that he told that sometimes he wanted to do things, or he was like cataloged as the guy who had many ideas but he didn't execute them, or at least he cataloged himself that way. So yeah, But the things he can do, like, I played the piano for 10 years, and I know it's a struggle, like, at least for me, like, to play things fast, to play things, like, with many notes, so on, so on and so forth. Of course, we always joke with that, like, there's, like, this continuous meme on a music community that, oh, if you play fast enough, no one will hear the errors, and just play fast, and that's what people will like it. And actually, that's kind of true, you know? But for the artists who are playing, if they have a little bit of, like, self-consciousness and they really enjoy what they're doing, it's not about playing fast and like, oh yeah, fuck the notes, I'll just play fast, no one will notice. No, thing is, Jacob plays fast and he plays all the notes right, and the hardest things that he seems to always nail is to find a purpose to every note. So you can play things fast, but why are you playing that? When are you playing that? So those are like two important questions, and those are very hard, like, especially when you're improvising, those are very hard to like answer that questions in the moment, like, why am I playing this chord, why am I playing this note, so on and so forth. So he usually makes that like in a matter of milliseconds. He can just improvise for hours and hours and hours, and everything sounds so good because he has a purpose for what he's doing, and he knows like the start, the middle, and the end, and how to get there. And again, that's one of the most hard things to know, like, how'd you get there? As if that wasn't impressive enough, he plays tons of other instruments. It's not only piano. He plays the bass. So like I'll try to insert some clips of him playing the bass and so on. But like, he plays the bass so nicely. He plays like drums. He plays basically, if you go and listen to his album in my room, there's like tons of instrumentation going on the background, and most of it is played by him because he usually doesn't record like in MIDI tracks. Like he uses Logic, which is a software, for those of you who don't know, it's a software for Apple computers where you can write music. It's a music software basically. You have others like Ableton, Cubase, etc, etc. So, but yeah, he could have used like MIDI and just play the notes on the piano, and like they would reproduce the sound of the bass, or for a violin, or for a double bass, or doesn't matter. But no, he insists on playing it like he plays it and recording it with a microphone. And why he does that, it's a thing that I'll talk a little bit more in the next topics. But yeah, his talent versus his age is something incredible. He is so young, he knows so many stuff. He already had connections with, like, he has friendships with Quincy Jones, Herbie Hancock, the singer from Coldplay, which I can't remember the name right now, Steve Vai. He has collaborated with Daniel Caesar, another amazing musician, Corey Henry. I don't know if he has collaborated yet, but he has played with them in like Snarky Puppy. He has played with Snarky Puppy at least in a concert back in Portugal. So that's a collaboration, I think. But I think he might have like some surprises for the next album with Corey Henry. I'm just saying. So yeah, Jacob is really, really, really a talented person. Next up, the vocal range. So Jacob doesn't, or at least he has told people that he doesn't entitle himself as a singer, even though he has millions of songs where he sings. I think all of them. There are some who are just instrumental, and like there's a song from the Jesse Volume 1 where he sings, but it's like just he actually talk with a choir that is Voces 8, yeah, that's it, Voces 8, to sing his song, but he sings a little bit, but it's not much. But like in 99% of his songs he sings, and like singing and vocals is like also a big part of his songs. Of course the instrumentation is there as well, the funkiness, the bass, drums, etc, etc. But I believe that Jacob Collier, if I had to like say an instrument so he could like just use that instrument forever, it would be his voice. Because that's what led him like to be amazing at what it is. He started making YouTube videos, like arranging songs like, I don't know, Flintstones. He actually won a Grammy with that song, like with the Flintstones cover. In the Bleak Midwinter, Isn't She Lovely, so on, so on. Georgia on My Mind, another one which is amazing. And he used to do this like a cappella. He does a cappella where it's just him singing, but it's like a whole choir of Jacobs. So it's like thrilling. And like, I have tried to do that, of course, and it sounded terrible, but Jacob has a way of doing it and has revolutionized the way of, at least for me, of recording stuff, especially with the voice. His vocal range is like amazing. He can sing like notes that are so low, like a proper, probably like a D or something like.
No, I can normally guarantee a D, which is like bah.
Yeah. I can go that low, like I can go like but like thing is I can do like but I can like properly vocalize it, you know, it's like just air. And he can go like really low, and then like to the up note, like it's really high. Like there are some notes, like I can insert some clips as well of him just singing high notes, low notes. It's just like, how can he do that? And I mean, the trick is just like, he was saying like I was saying before, like he sometimes thinks about stuff, but he doesn't have the technique to go there. And with his voice, I think he finds it that it is easier, because I mean, it's not about finger dexterity and so on. It's about, I don't know, just, at least for me sometimes when I'm in the mood and I really want to sing, like I can sing along with Jacob's songs and so on, like the top parts are high notes, and I consider myself to be like more or less a baritone singer. If I know today is not a good day because I'm quite, my throat is quite hurt, but I can sing sometimes like lower than the E. But I find myself sometimes singing along with him, and it's not that I am a great singer. I'm not. Believe me, I'm like the worst singer there is. But like, I just like, he puts myself in the mood, and I can just like skyrocket to it and just like pull the hair out of my lungs and just try to sing it as the best that I can. So I think that's what he does. He just imagines something, and he really puts his heart and soul into it and just tries to do it. And whenever he can't do it, he always has a solution. So if he can't go like as low as he can, he has a plugin for it to put an octave, like the note an octave below, sorry. Or there is an instance in Moon River where there's like a high note. I think it's like this C or some, not this C, that like this C probably, something like that. It's like a very high note, and he couldn't reach it, so he asked his sister to do it, and the result is uncanny, is amazing. So his vocal range is really amazing, and I think it's one of the best tools he has. Okay, so his way of understanding music. One of the things that I just love everything about him. You can probably tell that by now, but his way of understanding music, again, also it's the thing that really like blew my mind. And how does he do it? Because there are several people who do that, like especially people who are self-taught. And it's not that I didn't know about this, I just never experienced with such great detail and like attention when I did with Jacob. Because when I started seeing his live streams and started listening to his songs, I thought, how can someone think about all of this? Like, if you listen to Moon River, there's like 700 or 800 tracks in like the Logic session, with The Love of My Heart as well. Like, I think he in average has like 400 tracks per song, and that's so much, like so much. It's like ridiculous. And how can someone just think about all of this? And basically, his way of composing and thinking about music is just a way that he found better, and I think it's very practical in order for him to do what he does. And that is not to think very technically. There have been people who actually ask them like, oh, is musical theory like necessary for it to be a good musician? And he told like, no, you just, You just need to listen to the sounds that you want to listen and try to resemble the best you can. And I mean that's literally what it does. If you go and I really recommend for you to watch his live streams on like his Logic Session Breakdown and I don't know, just live streams of him harmonizing melodies, you will understand this in a nutshell. He isn't composing things and thinking, okay, so I did an F chord with a sharp 13 and a flat 11, so now I'll go to the 5th, which is... Nah, it just be like, he thinks of a sound and reproduces this sound. Usually what he does is like imagine when he's harmonizing a melody, he plays the harmony that first comes to his hand on the keyboard or something, and then he substitutes the notes on the keyboard for him singing. So if he plays an F major chord, then he'll sing that F major chord and take away the piano. And then he'll just keep adding and adding and adding notes until it's like too much, or until it's like it doesn't make sense anymore. That's why sometimes like there in with the love of my heart, I've seen the transcription of Chun-Li. Also props to Chun-Li for transcribing like the music of Jacob, which is like amazing. So I've seen like With the Love of My Heart, and there's a part where Jacob literally has a chord that is C, D, E, F, G, A, and B flat, I think. Man, and for someone who has studied classical music for 10 years, that's just ridiculous, you know? It's just like, how can a chord that's literally like this? Let me see if I can play it. This is the chord, but it's over here, I think. Like, how can this sound good? There's no way that this can sound good. It's just so weird. But then you listen to the song and it actually sounds amazing. So be like, how can a guy just compose this? Just think about this. And it's how I said it. He just listened to things 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times, doesn't matter. And he just starts, okay, I want to listen to this sound. I want to listen to this note. And he sings it and records it. Okay, now I want to listen to this one. And I think it's a very cool way of understanding music, a very cool way to approach music. So, the way that he learns. Basically, Jacob has a very new way of learning stuff, or at least he had new ways of learning stuff, because again, he was self-taught. And what happened is Jacob would always, and he talked a little bit about this, and we're also going to talk about this in the meanwhile, but he was always like looking for new objectives. So he wasn't satisfied with the completion of such task, or every time he got to a new degree, he will always be searching for more, and I think that's very nice. I actually find that I'm like that as well. Thing is, I have the lack of determination, and he didn't, because I think Jacob doesn't think an awful lot about all of this stuff. Oh, actually, let me zoom in his image so you can see him. So yeah, I think Jacob doesn't think an awful lot about all of this. So he knows what you want to do, and he knows why he wants to do it, and he just does it. And I think us mortals spend loads of time thinking about, do I have the determination? Am I an ambitious person? Am I creative enough? Well, all of us are creative enough. All of us have that imagination if we just work it. Sometimes it's just hidden, I think. And Jacob just uses it for his own purpose and for him to learn. So that's his proper way of learning something. Since he was a little child, he always had perfect pitch, of course. And he didn't care if he was like playing something that people didn't like. He even said in an interview like, well, of course, like my fans and the feedback from the concerts and everyone that appreciates my music is a good thing, but it's a bonus, because if no one listened to it, I would still do it. That's what he said. And I mean, that's just like very inspiring, at least for me, like, because man, the guy just really wants to do his stuff, and if people like it, well, that's amazing. But the most important part, and I think it's important for me to say this to everyone and to say it to myself, is man, just do whatever you like. If you like to listen to things like this, well, that's your own thing. Like, if you like it, just listen to it. And if people don't like it, they won't listen. Of course, there's haters and so on and so on and so forth. But man, just the haters, am I right? So yeah, Jacob's way of learning is very, very peculiar and very, very interesting. Okay, one of the things that I'm most thrilled about, and it was like, just blew up my mind at the time, is microtonalism in Jacob's songs. Man, there's this song which is called In the Bleak Midwinter, and it was like, it wasn't the first song that I heard from Jacob, but it was the first one that I knew that he had microtonalism. Then I learned that there are so many that have, like in the middle, or just a whole song is in microtonalism. But that one was the first one that I knew, like, it had a microtonal part. And it's in the fourth verse of the song, like in the, so you have the In the Bleak Midwinter, I think it's like a Christmas carol or something. And on the fourth verse, Jacob modulates the music to G F sharp minor. Just a disclaimer, if any of you guys like are not into music or something like that, I'm sorry. These are concepts that are like, it would take another video to explain. So if you want me to do like a video on musical theory, it's just a basic thing, I can do, no problem at all, because I have explained this to so many friends who are not even music experts or have music bases or anything. So I like to explain this stuff. Jacob does that modulation to G F sharp major. And I was like, how? How can someone just modulate to something that's like between one thing and another? Like, I have spent all my life listening to songs, like all the songs I have listened until Jacob, or at least like 99.9999% of them, were in equal temperament, didn't have any off keys, were either in G or in G F sharp. So like, how can he do that? And like, also him, like, he has, of course he has his icons like Quincy Jones, he has told about his icons like Bach, Stravinsky, I think he has some microtonal things, but I don't know, Bach, Earth, Wind and Fire, so on and so on, funky stuff, I don't know. But none of them composed in microtonal ways. Jacob is like the first person I know that does it regularly, like actually does it like on many songs, and it sounds good. Like, you listen to it, I listened to the song like 1, 2, 3 times, and then a friend of mine told me like, did you know that in G F sharp major? And I was like, what? And then I just tried to like play along with the song, and the time it hit G F sharp, I played the G and it wasn't, I played the G sharp and it wasn't. I was like, what the heck is happening? What is this witchcraft? So I was like blown away, and I started looking into it. I started looking how Jacob does that stuff, and like, there's like a whole world of microtonalism, and it's like, you learn music and you learn the equal temperament. It's like just a universe. Music is a universe. Music, normal music, is a universe, and Jacob just takes that universe and it's like, okay, now it's that universe times 2, and then times 3, and times 4, times 5, so on and so forth. So because you have like 12 notes, right? Like, so you have these notes, and you can do music with any of those. But Jacob, if he uses like half sharps and half flats, well, then he has 24, and he can do like double the music that you can. And not only this, he has like such an amazing ear that he actually can do like microtonal passages and sing like perfect. Like, you know, I'll just do this because I just love to explain this. You know, and there's like a semitone, and you sing like from C to C sharp, so there's a C and there's a C sharp, and now sing the note in the middle. Like, that's so hard, like C. Like, I don't know if I can do it properly. Like trust me, I don't know if I am doing it properly. But Jacob can like nail it. Like, you can just think, like, a semitone is 50 cents. So like, from C to C sharp, there's like 50 cents of separation. And a cent is, well, a cent is a cent of a semitone. So It's like one hundredth of a semitone. So basically, Jacob can be like, oh, this B is actually 14 cents higher than it should be, and he just sings it, and it's just like pinpoint accurate. So it's just like, how can you do that? How can you sing like to the hundredth of a semitone? That's like, and in tune. It's not out of tune, it's in tune. And he has his all new ideas about, like, instead of using the equal temperament system where the notes are divided by equal parts, he just uses like the just intonation where notes come from the harmonic series. So that's why he says that a major third is 14 cents sharper than it should be, or 14 cents flatter than it should be. I don't remember. But yeah, it's just like you have learned everything about music. You know how to play the jazz, the lick. You can play Stravinsky, Liszt, Chopin. You can play many things, and you think, "Geez, thank God I'm done." And suddenly, oh crap, microtonalism. And like, of course, you can't play microtonalism on a piano. That's why most of the time he sings, because by singing, Jacob can be as natural and as he wants to, because you can just do whatever you want with singing. There's like no limits. You can sing like ah, and you can sing like ah, and it's different. Like you can sing like ho, ha, ha. There's like many different ways of singing, and he just uses them all. And that's why I really recommend like for you to see like Logic Session Breakdown. Like there's this fun story when I've seen like the Moon River Logic Session Breakdown, and Moon River is just a universe of, at least his version is just a universe of microtonalism, just random and crazy stuff. And in the middle of it, he showed like a progression he used, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to play that on the piano. So I wrote it, the notes, and I wrote the progression, so on and so forth. After the live stream ended, I tried to play it. Thing is, like his piano, like his MIDI keyboard, was in tune to Moon River, so he could like play with the song. Like he was like explaining like, oh, it's this chord, and he played it. It didn't sound awful because he was in tune with Moon River. We will like be off sharp sometimes, be off flat sometimes, so it's like crazy stuff. So I went to the piano and I started playing, and my piano is in equal temperament, and it's just, it was in tune. Because, yeah, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but yeah. I tried to play it and it just sounded awful to me. It just sounded, okay, what the heck is happening? Like my piano is so out of tune, and it wasn't. I just spent like the last hour listening to B F sharp and B F minor. Of course my brain was like, pfft. So yeah, like that happened to me. And like imagine Jacob, who deals with like B F, like he's singing B F sharp and then he suddenly has to change to B F sharp, and like he did a reharmonization of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and then he moves from F to F sharp, then to G, then to C, like all of this in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which is like 40 seconds of music. And it's such, like he has such talent, and this microtonal thing is just like amazing and a big thing, and I really want to learn more about it, but all of it on its time. So the last topic, for me it's the most important one, and I think is the reason on why Jacob is such an amazing artist, and why he's 25 and he's having this much success, and I literally can't wait for him to be 50 and just give me so much more stuff. Because it's the way he lives life. As I told before, he doesn't care about what the opinion of others, but in his music he always tries to be natural. He has this sense of like, there's like this search for perfection in humanity nowadays. Like you have computers that are in music that are grading everything, and like you have autotune. I'm not saying bad of autotune, like Jacob uses autotune sometimes to make certain stuff, but it's like premeditated. He knows why he's using it. But like there are tons and tons of people who use it just so their voices, it's not out of tune. And like, what is out of tune? Because of course in a certain, depends on the context, but you can play on purpose out of tune. And if you play on purpose out of tune, then you're not playing out of tune, you're playing in tune to you. And that's basically what Jacob does. He just tries to teach people that everything is acceptable in like the own, if you have the context for it. And if you like it, of course. If you're making it to enjoy yourself and to be, or at least to learn, or to make others learn, well, then it's always going to be a great piece of music. It's always going to be a great piece of art. It doesn't matter what it is. And he usually talks a little bit about like humanizing stuff instead of dehumanizing stuff, because it's very easy to fall in the temptation of, for example, quantizing. Quantizing is something in music that's just loads and loads of musicians do, and because it's easier. You play a riff and you play like ta 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 ta, and it's kind of off. But when you quantize it, it will be like ta 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 ta. So it'll be perfect. It'll be ta 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 ta, instead of having that human feel to it. And I think that's very important, because this could sound to someone like, oh yeah, you're just making excuses so you can make errors in like live shows and so on. No, it's actually like, if it's premeditated, of course there are errors. Like you can be playing something and it just, oh, it's a little bit out of tempo. But you can also play out of tempo on purpose, and that's different if you do it on purpose or not. If you do it on purpose, then it's not out of tempo. You're just putting some feeling into it and just human feeling it, and not being like a robot. Because man, there are millions and millions and millions of programs, like there's Sibelius, there's MusicScore, that can play stuff like very symmetrically, very mathematically. And if people like that, if people really, really like that, then, well, musicians, like, we just put things on Sibelius and just play them. But no, man, like, what people like is like the human-to-human interaction. Like, we live in an era, again, of many computer things, and like, everything is just digital and very technological and so on, so on and so forth. And it really helps us. Like, I think Jacob couldn't do all of the stuff he does if it wasn't for like his setup, like the things he has in his room. Like, it would be very, very hard for him. But still, he still finds a way to find balance, you know? Like, he tries, why doesn't he like record like stuff on the MIDI keyboard? It would be like 10 times easier and faster. Well, because that's not natural, or the sounds are like all samples. And like, when you play a note, like imagine on a double bass, you play a note, and you play that note again, it won't sound like the same. It's like this tiny bit of difference. But in the end, after all of his career, it will make a huge difference. Like all the little bit of extra effort he put in his songs to make it more natural, it will just make them like different. It will not be like something that everyone has listened to it before. It will be something because it's personalized, it's human, it's natural. If he plays a riff, or he plays a drum riff or something like that, he'll play it okay. It doesn't, like, one thing I noticed, it doesn't use metronome. I advise people to use metronome, because that's a way of them like getting the insight and really knowing when they are in tempo or not. Because again, then you would make errors and you'd be out of tempo, not on purpose, and that's bad. So like, of course, to all of this, there's like a background. Jacob didn't like born and then like he knew all of this stuff. No, he studied a lot. He practiced it a lot. There were some times where he practiced with metronomes like probably hours and hours and hours, and everything like very mathematically, you know? But after all of that training and after knowing all of those stuffs, it's important for you to like know what to do with those stuffs. And Jacob right now is a very, like, he can influence many people. He is very present on social media, like his music touches many people. And he could just be like, okay, now that I have the audience, I can just like do things, you know, easier way. And he doesn't. He always, like, every song that he makes has a purpose. Like, he can tell like hours and hours of stories about every song that he makes. So I think that's very, very, very important, like on his music, on his art, on his, I don't know, everything. And I guess that's it. So yeah, this was my appreciation video to Jacob Collier. I am really a big fan to him. I am literally considering like taking a cardboard to his concert in Manchester and saying like, yo Jacob, can we please like go get a beer or something? And yeah, because he is really nice. I have some friends who actually have been with him. I have another friend that went to his concert, and it's like, Jesus Christ, I really wanted, and it's not because I don't want to get there and just be like the fangirls from Beatles or from One Direction, be like, ah, man, I mean, nothing against, like, I have that same level of like appreciation and worshipping, as you can probably see from this video. But the thing is, like, I really just want to have a chat with him and know more, because the things he taught me, like since I started listening to him, which was not long ago. I really wanted to be like longer ago that I started listening to him, but it didn't. It just happened in July last year, in 2019, when I listened to Moon River, and it was like, Moon River is still my favorite song for him. So yeah, I just really want to have a chat with him and just talk about stuff, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be about music, but just like his way of approaching life and so on. Because I don't know if you find it interesting, but at least I find it interesting the way that he literally doesn't care. And I mean, there are loads of people who say that they don't care, but we always care to a certain bit, you know, to someone. And I think Jacob also, like, there are people who influence Jacob. There are people Jacob think, will they like my music? But like, I would say that 99% of his soul and heart is like, man, just do whatever you like, and if people like, nice. I think that's the best advice to take from this video. Like, do whatever you like. If people like it, amazing. If people don't like it, well, don't worry, just do your own stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next video.